I had just sat down for a quiet afternoon when my cat jumped into the air to catch a treat, her little paws swiping at it with the kind of grace you'd expect from a kitten. But then, just as she was about to make contact, the screen froze. The video feed that had been streaming was gone. Everything stopped. I thought, great, just another Wi-Fi hiccup. You know, the kind of thing that happens every now and then. The kind you ignore and go on with your day. But little did I know, that frozen screen was the start of something much bigger. It started with something that seemed like a typical issue. The Wi-Fi slowed down, but I'm used to it. We live in a suburban neighborhood, and squirrels chew on cables more than you'd think. Or there's the occasional landscaping crew that yanks up wires. This was nothing new. But I'm a cybersecurity engineer. My job involves handling sensitive, classified information from home. I build my own isolated development environments. I know when something's off. And this felt different. Over the next few hours, I started to see strange things. My connection, even on a wired Ethernet, was lagging. My file sync was failing. Then, my encrypted cloud system kicked me out. Twice. This wasn't supposed to happen. Ever. So, I did what any person would do when their secure network starts acting up. I ran a scan. And there it weighs an unknown device on my network. Labeled Karen's Kindle. At first, I shrugged it off. Maybe it was a neighbor, accidentally connected to my guest Wi-Fi. So, I blocked it, no big deal. But then, it happened again. More lag. Another forced log out. And this time, I wasn't just seeing interference. The logs were showing traffic patterns that didn't make sense. It wasn't random. Someone was poking around. I ran a packet capture. What I found made my blood run cold. The intrusion was coming from inside the neighborhood, from an IP that was masked to look like one of my own admin tools. I knew this wasn't some amateur mistake. Whoever this was, they knew what they were doing. I locked everything down, activated sniffer tools, set traps. I thought to myself, if this is some nosy neighbor, they're about to learn the hard way not to mess with a cybersecurity pro. But if it was something more serious, I needed to act fast. That's when I decided to take a walk, clear my head, and reset the network hardware. But something caught my eye. Through Karen's window, barely visible behind her curtains, I spotted an antenna. It didn't look like much, just an amateur ham radio setup. Maybe a Wi-Fi extender, I thought. But it was pointed right at my house. And Karen? Well, she wasn't the kind of person who would suddenly become a tech enthusiast. Unless you count the endless, passive-aggressive emails she sent at 3 a.m. about people's recycling bins being off-center. I went to knock on her door, hoping to settle things like adults. She answered wearing a silk robe, holding a mug that said, HOA Boss Lady, as though she was some self-proclaimed authority on the block. Before I could even say a word, she started accusing me of stealing her Wi-Fi, spying on her, and even intercepting her HOA emails. I'm a certified digital defense volunteer, she declared. I later found out that title was a fabrication, something she probably picked up from a Reddit post about cyber hygiene. She slammed the door in my face before I could explain. At that point, I knew this was more than a petty dispute. This was something deeper. That night, I set up a fake server decoy, designed to look like a classified government endpoint. I named the files with things like CIVYL infrastructure surveillance maps and covert monitoring protocol draft. Completely fake, but enough to set off alarms if someone was snooping around. I gave it a few hours, and then I saw it. The connection. It came from the same IP, the same spoofed subnet, and the moment the files were opened, I knew I had my culprit. I watched as Karen, clueless, as usual, took the bait. She downloaded the files, then posted them online, sharing her discovery in a local conspiracy group. What she didn't realize was that I had embedded a digital watermark. The moment she shared the files, they pinged an alert to a real government server. Homeland Security was now involved. And that wasn't the worst part. The worst part? She thought she was the hero. She thought she had found proof of a national scandal. She posted screenshots from the honeypot server and boldly claimed, "They're using smart meters to control our thoughts." She believed it all, every single word. She didn't even realize the files she'd downloaded were a trap, and that she had just flagged herself for the FBI. The next morning, I received a call from a federal contact. "Are you aware of any unauthorized attempts to access secured systems from your network?" he asked. "I have proof pointing to a neighbor," I said, my heart racing. He wasn't surprised. In fact, he was already on it. All I had to do was keep collecting EVY Denke. The FBI was watching. Karen was digging herself deeper into a hole, and I was just sitting back, waiting for the INEVY table. But Karen? She wasn't slowing down. She ordered more gadgets, a Wi-Fi booster from some shady online store, a drone with a camera, and even a course on ethical hacking for patriots. She renamed her home network to CareNet Surveillance Defense Grid and started printing out fake federal documents, taking them to HOA meetings like they were the gospel truth. It was both absurd and terrifying to watch. One day, I caught her attempting to hack into my real smart home system. This was no longer some innocent neighborly dispute. Karen had crossed a line. She was actively breaching my private network. I sent all the logs to the FBI and waited for the call. It wasn't long before I got another message. We're MOVYing forward. It was happening. Karen was about to be caught. But before the FBI could step in, she made one final mistake. She tried to post a VY Deo, claiming that the HOA was secretly working with FEMA. She tagged several journalists and even emailed local news stations. This was the final straw. One of the email addresses she used triggered another government flag, and in less than 4 hours, the neighborhood was under surveillance. The quiet street I'd lived on for years was now a federal hotspot. I knew it was time. That morning, 3 black SUVs rolled into the neighborhood like they were part of a MOVY scene, silent, deliberate. The agents had their orders, and this time, Karen wasn't going to escape. She opened her door to reality that morning, and it hit her like a freight train. Karen tried to destroy EVY Densesh, microwaved her tablet, thinking she could erase everything. But instead, it sparked, caught fire, and set off her smoke alarms. The agents were inside in seconds. They found her in a Digital Freedom Force hoodie and camo pajama pants, totally oblivious to the GRA tie of her actions. They collected everything: her laptops, her tablets, the drone, the radio equipment. But the most damning, EVY Denke? A physical folder with printouts of the honeypot documents she'd downloaded, complete with her notes and delusions written in red ink. The charges were stacking up. Unauthorized access, distribution of fabricated materials, destruction of digital EVY Denke, and then impersonating a federal agent. The FBI had what they needed. When they took Karen away, she screamed about how she had uncovered the truth, how they were trying to silence her. But the reality was, Karen's delusions had led her to commit multiple felonies without her even realizing it. She had been playing in a game much bigger than her, and she didn't even understand the rules. Weeks passed, and the neighborhood slowly returned to normal. The rumors faded. Some people still joked about Karen's wild accusations, but the HOA meetings were quieter now. As for me, I was just glad it was over. But the experience changed me. I realized how vulnerable we all are to digital threats, even from the people we live next door to. So, I decided to build something to protect people. A network protection suite for neighborhoods. I called it Karen, and it became a hit. But even with all of that, I still couldn't help but smile whenever I thought about that last petty move I made. I had programmed my sprinklers to spray anyone who crossed the spot where Karen had once set up her surveillance equipment. It was a harmless reminder of who was really in charge now. The water shot up like a little high-pressure reality check for anyone who dared to trespass. Karen? She's out there somewhere, levying quietly under Super VY Shaun, never to return. And as for me, I'm just glad I was able to build a digital shield for my neighbors and for myself. Because sometimes, it's not about destroying your enemy. It's about making sure they destroy themselves. Now, I want to hear from you. Do you think Karen got what she deserved? Or did she just get caught up in a mess bigger than she could ever understand? What would you have done in my shoes? Let me know in the comments below. I'll be reading every single one of them.